far as this origin. And I am taking most of my information from this, from Dr. Obinga's book, The African Philosophy, the Pharaonic Period, 2780 to 330 BC. Our people in the Nile Valley thought about where we came from, our purpose, how did we get here, just like every other person on the planet. However, right here or right there. However, our thoughts had more to do with nature. We believe, according to, and this is coming from glyphs, from papyrus, that our birth, our coming together, came from a watery, gaseous mixture that already had consciousness in it. It had everything that was needed for matter, everything that was needed for all that is here. And from this watery abyss, watery gaseous mass, came consciousness. It came to be out of this. And I want to read just a little bit. One of the things he said, before the birth of the world, there was always in existence the consistent reality that preceded it. Over 2,500 years before our age, the thinkers of the Pharaonic Egypt grappled with the riddle of existence. Their thinking was exceptionally radical. They held before the birth of the Pharaoh himself and of the entire universe of divinities, before the advent of the sky, the earth, death, meaning there was neither, or there was not, a creator God, nor a void, nor chaos. Instead, there was noon. And on the back board there, when we turn the lights on, you'll see it. I put up the glyphs for what they considered, how they looked at noon. That's the sky. The bottom part is the sky, and those are nuboles on top. That was like nothing known, a reality like nothing before, which contained all the primary matter that would be used, a sort of latent consciousness within this liquid abyss, at the origin of the universe. And that was how our people saw reality, the creation. That was their view of it. Their Kemetic mythology was radically different from what came much later out of the Western philosophies and Platonic philosophies. It was just different. We did not have a large demiurge or creative force that started everything. Our consciousness arose out of this water. And I want to read one thing, and then Nation Builder Kwame and I will pour, what page is on page 3? We'll pour our libation. The noon is pictured to represent an undefined gaseous state of watery vapor, a state of pre-existence of which emerged the primary elements of our reality. That's how we saw period 1. And we'll pour, using noon or water to pour our libations. And I'm going to let you do first, Kwame. There's water. And this is to your right hand is the plant. If someone would. Hold it. Yeah.
So, this past Nia Day, in our study group, we were talking about the Hetep Di Nasu. And I was going to show us, or at least give you an expression of how that sounds. So,
Everybody please stand.
So, Hetep Di Nasu in Nun, Ptah, in Shu, Tefnu, Geb Nu, Kepri, Ra, Atum, Wasir, Aset, Set, Nebethet, Heru, Ampu, Maati, Jehuti, Dien Peret Keru, Kate, Ka Tinquet, Cacao, Kape, Kashesu, Kamenket, Ket Nebet Neferet Wavet, In Anket Neche, In Kayen, In Mahiu, and then we would say those to whom we are pouring libations to. And if you want to.
Okay. We're pouring libations to Imhotep. And we'll say Ashe. Queen Hatshepsut. We're pouring libations to all of those that died on the continent, that ended up in the Indian Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, who fought and died there, like Queen Nzinga. We'll say Ashe. We pour to those that we have names for on this side of the world, like Frederick Douglass and Ida B. Wells and Queen Mother Moore and Malcolm X, Bookman, and all of those energies, and our mentor, yes, definitely our mentor, all of those activists on this side. Let's pour to our family.
Hey,
and we can call them by name, either out or in our head. Like my mother, Queen Virginia. I say. All that we do is for these babies. Our future is our children. Our eternity is our children. So we pour to the Watoto. Say Ashe.
Ashe.
And lastly, in this sacred space that we have, we pour to these African people that are standing, that are sitting, that are with us in this sacred space. We pour to ourselves, and we'll say Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. Okay, one more. Hold on.
In as much as we have, how many people in here?
Now, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12.
So I at least want to hear 2 to 4 ancestors from each of you. Can we do that to give our own personal ancestors that proper respect?
Ashe.
Right? So I don't know, or really don't much care where we start, as long as we start. But since I started it, it'll begin with me. So I pour to Alan and Winnie Frederick, Eliza Frederick, and my grandfather, Bird Davis.
Nate Green, Anna Green, Lily Green.
Geraldine Cunningham, John Traylor, Clear Akurumi, Ashe.
Ashe.
Ellen Lane, Jackson, Irma Lawson, Shirley Potts Lawson.
Ashe.
Clara Dawson, Luella Stein, Grandma Bessie.
Ashe.
Barbara Brooks, Barbara Brooks,
It's still going.
Adam Spate, Ashe.
Ashe.
It's still going.
Charlotte Thomas, William Towers, Clay Thomas.
Ashe.
Charles Jordan, Janice Foster, Big Red.
Ashe. Big Red.
Hardens, almost versus the family, about 2,000 of them.
Willie Johnson, Hannah Johnson, Hannah Johnson Jr., Lula Dale Mayberry.
Miles Brown, Miles Brown, Cleveland Brown, Geneva Brown.
Sidney Winbush, Willie Ward Winbush, Clementine Winbush, Virginia Knight.
Stanford Lawson, Grace Chase, Marietta Higgins.
Ashe.
Juanita Wright,
Ashe.
Robert Wright,
Ashe.
George Wright,
Ashe.
Betty Robinson,
I first
Ashe.
That's it.
Gina.
Okay.
Hold on,
Oh.
Baby, watch out.
Gina Kelly.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Elder West.
I did it first.
African people, we're standing here honoring our past, our present, our future. Ashe. Ashe. Ashe.
Before you, now, it is at this point
At which you say.
at which you say,
Ma'akaru.
Ma'akaru.
Which means
True of voice.
True Voice.
what they followed. So we'll talk about that at
Right.
the what's your name? Thank you.
And we would complete it by saying, Dua, Dua, Dua. Amun Hetep.
Ashe.
These
Put the double one up there. So at the Umoja Karamu, the water would be to all. Next, as we see African spirituality, and as this is developing, African spirituality develops, and let me get the proof for that. This is still within the black area. These are grapes. Zero anytime.
Oh, I'll wait my use. Okay. The second period is, as you can see, African spirituality. There were, actually, there was no such word as spirituality in ancient Kemetic language. But there were three primary traditions of what we call spirituality. The first tradition states that spirituality is about the infinite unknown, which was called Amen, and the infinite known, which was called Atum. As was stated earlier, there was no God, only existence. Our ancestors also believed at that time, and through that tradition, that all life was sacred, and that life was more than what was here on earth, that everything was one. The second tradition states that everything that exists is nature. Nature, and then everything that exists is all one. The third tradition states that there were certain qualities and aspects of creation that was given names, like Asar said, some of the names that Brother Kwame recited. They were given names, they were given form. Some were human, some were animal, and also were given gender. Some were male, some were female. Now the priests, they would perform plays where they would wear masks that represented these different universal principles. They would give these plays to teach the people. And as we all know, this practice is still being done in Africa even up to this day. And one of the main reasons why it's so effective is because we're visual people. And I want to go back to that first tradition and the two statements that said that our people believe that all life was sacred and life is more than what was here on earth, and that everything is one. Those two concepts, in my opinion, have been corrupted over time. And not to offend anybody, but I think that it's been corrupted because of Western religions and also because of greed. So that's something for us to think about. Also, again, getting back to all life is sacred, and that life, is more than what's here on earth. The Amber Geiger, I think the Amber Geiger trial is a good example of how those two concepts have been corrupted. Because we have been conditioned over time to just forgive, and forgive. And even taught that there's no excuse for any violence. But you can't have violence without nonviolence. They both go hand in hand. And there's a time and a place for everything. It was because King PER ANKH, he invaded Kemet because they felt that the old ways had been destroyed, and he wanted to go back and restore the old ways. So that was one reason why violence is useful or needed to be done. But just in defense of any of our people, there's always a time and a place for everything. So again, I think that's something that we need to talk about and think about. Not to do overkill, and I guess that may not be a good word, but not to do overkill on life being sacred, and that there's no excuse for any violence. No, there's no excuse for violence, but sometimes to bring about harmony, you have to be violent. Sometimes to bring about peace, you have to be violent. So, Ashe.
Third period is the people themselves who adopted the principles of the universe, and that we're going to have the food for that would be the brown rice or black rice, and Mama Mama Rhoda is going to talk to us about that one. Any questions you have, just write them down. What I'm putting up here on the table is the foods that you can serve representing that color or that era, but they all have a specific color. The first one is like water, we're saying clear, but it also can be a black food. So, Mama Rhoda, you need the light on?
The African family was always a togetherness, and they always had something in common, which is the divine spirit. They knew it was one. They stuck together, they fought together, they lived together, mostly harmony, even with others. When we were brought over here to a foreign land, they separated because they knew the power of the family and the power that we possessed. Now we're gathering the family back to regain its power, its knowledge, and its African spirituality. So I think this is something that our future is going to hold as one.
And there would be the meal that would represent that. This particular rice, there has a name for it in the African community. It's called jollof. There's somebody who's done this to cook it. We have folks here who actually cook this right here amongst us. And my pronunciation is wrong. But that's one of the things that hopefully we'll see next week, because all of us are supposed to bring food for the Karamu to sit down. It'll be the jollof rice. Next, can I have a drum roll? Run, roll, move, roll. Get a drum. Keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. Look up at the screen. Keep going, keep it going, keep it going. The Ma'apa's coming in. The Ma'apa was not just in one area, it was worldwide. Brother Kwame is going to come up and come. Give me some more drums over there. He can stay right there.
White rice.
I'll bring the white plate up.
As Mama Rhoda pointed out, the family and how it is in its proper paradigm. In other words, when we are following in our way. However, we lost our way. And in the losing of our way, we would be marched from places like Central Africa all the way to the West Coast. And in the marching, let's say I had 100 brothers and sisters alongside of me, we'd lose 10 to 15% of them. And then, as we crossed the Atlantic, in the mind of Alo Equiano, we lost another 15 to 25% of our people. At that point, we're around, I got about 63 brothers and sisters left at my side. And then we come to the shores of the Americas.
Oh, look out.
And what should happen? Well, where do we even begin? So I had to pick the minds of Nellie Fuller Jr., Francis Cress Welsing, Amos Wilson, and the like, right?
Uh-oh.
And I started going through those 9 areas of life activities, but I only name a few because, I don't want to keep you much longer than 5. So, we start with economics, right?
Okay, right.
See, that's the ADOS piece that, we really striving to express. Some of it seems to be getting lost, but we're going to get that right. A lot of this all begins with the economic piece. Nonetheless, not to forget, we lost our way. And our losing our way is one of the reasons, among many others, why we ended up here. But we're here. So we're being throttled economically, whether it's people driving through, literally driving through, because they put all kinds of freeways through our what would be Black Wall Streets across the nations, right? You go on over to the educational piece. They miseducate us. Carter G. Woodson told us that, right?
Right.
We move on to the entertainment piece, and you know, if all you can be is about an entertainer. Now, don't get me wrong, because there's ways to entertain, as Elder Green just pointed out, in a way that's helpful to us. But that's not what happened. Y'all see where we are. When you look on television or any other place for that matter and see how we're entertained. But it's not all bad. So we have to take that which is good and make more of it. And that's which is not, and leave it behind. But we move on up to the labor, right? Brother can't get a job, so you know, he goes to his, hell, he creates his own, what we call a street pharmaceutical, right? Right? You know, and of course, many of our brothers end up locked up, right? Right. Again, like unto Africa, that's pulling from young brothers who could be making babies with young sisters. But hell, let's look at how they treating our young sisters, right? You know, hey, our sisters getting locked up, beat up, on one hand. On the other hand, when they do bring a child into the world, if they don't kill them, through some kind of infant mortality, right? Because of improper medical care, then they get them by making situations so dastardly and oppressive that they too get caught up in a juvenile injustice system. Right. So we could go on. But many of y'all know I like to be brief, to give those who like to run their mouths the chance to
So
do
you know
so.
who's next.
So I'm going to sit on down.
Give thanks.
So as Brother Kwame and the others said, this Ma'apa comes in, but the Ma'apa all of a sudden starts to disappear. But it doesn't go anywhere, but the black dot arrives. And as the black dot arrives, the black dot extends itself into the four corners. And as it extends itself into the four corners, we have what is called the reawakening of the African mind. Reawakening of the African mind. Reawakening of the African mind. Reawakening. Can't hear you. Of the African mind. Can't hear you. Reawakening. Can't hear you. Of the African mind. Reawakening. Of the African mind. Reawakening. Come on. Of the African mind. Reawakening. Of the African mind. Reawakening. Of the African mind. All right. When you reawaken, you gotta get up, stand up. You gotta move. Get up, you gotta move. You can't reawake and not moving. Well, they were reawakened. Hey, all right.
All right, so I was tasked with finding a way to do what I do in 5 minutes. Y'all know, right?
No, you can take, Brother Kwame yielded some minutes to you already.
But hey, no, he went about 8 minutes. But family, I want to thank y'all because I've been thinking about this since Elder gave it to me, and I wasn't able to really do any writing because every time I sit down and do some writing, something would happen at the school. So there's always drama going on. So one of the things I was thinking about was reawakening of the African mind, and I wanted to approach it in a specific way and in a way to where we could do some further research of the reawakening and keep track of it. Because as we heard in African spirituality in the beginning of the cosmos, we as African people were plugged into cycles. The cycles of nature were a major aspect of what we did. And in order for us to move the way we move, we had to learn to take advantage of what was going on in nature.
Watch the wine above your head.
Okay. We had to make sure that we were able to take advantage of nature. For example, if I didn't understand that the Nile was flooding, it would just be a catastrophe rather than something that would be useful to me. Right? That's how we was able to take advantage of that. Oh, the paper is cool.
Let's go get some water.
Oh, okay. All right. So, I got my little tie
You
here,
reawakened.
official. Right, we had to reawaken, right? So we go through the My Alpha and all that. So let me get through what I have to get through real quick.
No, don't do it real quick. Think you okay?
So the first thing is when you awake, you know, as we all know, when we wake up, we got to shake off because we don't know whether we still in a dream. Sometimes we might wake up confused, not knowing what we are. Our reawakening is about us becoming conscious of the world around us.
Good point.
Like our ancestors, they were conscious of the world around them. So that's why they was able to amass such wealth, right? Because by me being able to take advantage of the flooding of the Nile and me being able to take advantage of other things in nature, it made it possible for me to move from one level of civilization to the next. Because like at first, as tribes, we have to get out, we got to hustle, we got to hunt, we got to do whatever we got to do in order to survive. But as agriculture started coming in and I'm able to start stacking up food, this means that now all of us don't have to go hunting. Brother Lumelon can stand around and think about stuff now because I'm bringing back food and he might be able to create something that's useful for me. And from that comes trade. So I believe that it was our people's consciousness of what was going on in their environment and their ability to take advantage of it that allowed them to build and control civilizations. By using the wisdom that was left behind for us, we can move ourselves back into power. And this is where the reawakening come in. Our ancestors plugged into cycles. We were big on plugging into nature, right? Understanding nature. You know, just like white folks trying to understand the stock market, we had an understanding of nature because from nature came the things that we would need to survive. Whether it was letting us know that certain animals were migrating or letting us know the best time to plant our seeds, we plugged into nature. Our ancestors paid attention to cycles and connected the life of the people to these cycles. We connected our lives to the cycles. Right now, it's easy for us not to connect our lives to the cycles. And I'll talk about that in a second. A prime example of this is the Nile Valley civilization, which was connected to the annual flooding of the Nile. We can see similar connections all throughout Africa. We can find traces of this in our people in America, but somewhere along the way, we fell into a sleep. My Alpha knocked us out. Let's call My Alpha what it is. It was a hard reset. It was a hard reset for us. Now our task is to identify those cycles and plug back into them so that we can move forward. Observing our cycles, our ancestors served the world they existed in and found the patterns that, I can't read it up there, patterns that they would exploit to build their lives upon. When we plug into nature, nature makes it possible so that we can get from nature as long as we're giving back to nature. So, you know, I couldn't find a better word than exploit. You know what I'm saying? I ain't want, but in a sense, that's what we did. We exploited the piece that the Nile would flood. We exploited the seasons because we had to get out and we knew when to do what we needed to do. We would even structure our lives on that. This is why, for example, in West Africa, you see the day names. With the day names, what the day names tell you is the cycle that an individual was born on. So if I'm an Amma, there's certain things that I bring to the community automatically because I was born during that vibration. I was born during the cycle of that day, which Amma is, or Kaumba, right? Being brought into a new climate, we had to reintroduce ourselves to nature, in some cases expand our symbolic language. Because in Africa, we had 2 seasons, wet and dry. We come here, we got winter, spring, summer, and fall. And you got to know it just like over there, because if you plant, whether it's still hot or not, if you plant at the wrong time, you doomed. Same here. You got to know what seasons to plant and what to do. So we had to read, in a sense, reawaken ourselves and look at the new world we were in and learn how to take advantage of those things. So the piece that I'm going to be using big here is I'm going to be using the symbology of the seasons, which is one of the first, which is one of the ones we can see. The cycles of life are different in North America, and we had to learn to adjust so that we could get the effects that we wanted. For example, in North America, there are 4 seasons rather than 2. We already spoke about that, so let me move on. Symbols of seasons. So winter, what are you supposed to be doing in winter?
Wearing a coat.
Wearing a coat. Winter is cold, right? Winter is cruel. If you're not ready for winter,
But winter also slows things down.
it slows things down. Hibernation, sleep, rest, planning, and preparation. Because I want you to understand, like if you look at ancient warfare, especially in West Asia, they would never go, they strove never to go to war in winter. They wanted to go to war from spring to late fall, then they going home. Wintertime, they didn't. Even nowadays, there's certain things that you don't do in winter. And when you go against nature, you have consequences. So boom, in spring, building of power. The power start building up. You start breaking the ground. You start new projects. Birth and rebirth. During spring is the best time for energy to be born. Summer, unleashing of power. That's that energy. The sun is always shining. You can get hot, you can get out, and you can do a lot of stuff. But there's also action and work. You got to weed. In the summertime, if you work with a garden, you got to go out, you got to weed. You know what I'm saying? And protection. Fall, harvest, storing up of energy, and clearing, because you clear the field so that everything can be prepared for next year. Now, the important part about this is that all these 3 right here are preparing for winter. If you're not prepared for winter, winter is death. There's no hibernation. It's death. You can only rest in winter when you have handled the other seasons. So now, what did this got to do with your presentation, Brother Hatim? Let me break it down. So I came up with a concept years ago. I was up on stage doing poetry, and it hit me. Oh, wow. Because at that time I was studying the seasons. I was looking at the stars, boom, boom. I said, all right, cool. There's cycles. We have to be able to plug into cycles. Because our people were successful because we was able to plug into cycles. What are the cycles going on for us? So in the system that I got each generation broken down into 20 years. Each generation is then given a season in order, starting from winter on. Each generation is a collective 1 year. So as a people, right now, here in America, those of us that are here, we are only 20 years old as a group. Now I want us to understand, many of us, we want ourselves to be where older tribes or older nations was. Because y'all got to understand, when we talk about Kemet, we're talking about something that was thousands of generations old. Even before Kemet was established. Because I want you to understand this. Namor didn't go out and unite a bunch of people with fields and stuff like that. He went and he united a civilization which formed the first dynasty. Please understand that. So when we try to compare ourselves to the Egyptians as a group, we can't do that. Why? Because we are only 20 years old. We're babies as a group. All right, so now each 4 generations equals what I call a great cycle. And each great cycle also is represented by one of the seasons. So let me get off of here for a minute and I want to take you. So here are the years. Starting from 1619 all the way up, each one is 20 years from 1619 to 1639. We were in the winter, of course, because we was brought over here, right? We were snatched up, we was brought over here. And I got it going all the way down to the 21st generation. So what I did was I would enter the event, I would put what season it was in, which generation the thing was done in and whatever. So now, I wanted to look at the cycle so I could be like, when is the best time for us to move? What was going on with us when we came here? And most of all, what time did we really start to awaken? So here we go. Let's go on and get into some of these responses. So I'm going to go over here. I want to show y'all this real quick. Boom. All right, now. I wanted to go through this real quick just so that you know it. What our enemy does to us, I don't understand why it's all the way over in the corner. It's 4 Ds that they do to us. They dismiss us, they discredit us, they demonize us, and then delete us. Usually it's supposed to be destroy, but I like delete. I'm working with computers now, so they delete us. You know what I'm saying? So we got to understand what's the war that's being raged on it is generational, which a lot of us don't understand. Because we honestly live our lives as individuals, and because we live our lives as individuals, we get our ass kicked all the time. Because they're coming at us as a group. When most of the time when y'all have issues when we have issues with West Asians, it's us going up against an institution. What is an institution? An institution is a collective piece of their consciousness that we're trying to wage war against. And you can never beat as an individual because institutions outlive individuals. Always do. Always have. That's why it's important to formalize those. And then also, I just wanted to cover this just because I had nothing else to do. The 3 R's of relationships. Because if we want to awaken, we got to do it right. It's 3 R's of relationship. We got to practice respect. We got to hold responsibility in those relationships, and as well as practice reciprocity. When we get back. So now, going to the charts real quick, and then I'm done. So I went through, I'm going to just show these charts because these ones are a little bit, they're detailed, but they're too detailed. The count of events, this is the events that popped off. I got them all listed out. I went and did research and found all the events. Now, the seasons where we are most active, unfortunately for us, is during winter. Whenever our consciousness start coming in, for some reason, it's timed around winter. So this is when a lot of our activities take place. You see 30.9% of all the action that was taken by us during a winter season. And are you supposed to take direct action against your enemy in the winter season? No. So we have been awake, but let's look at some of these years. So in the Great Cycle, now Great Cycle is 80 years. So we was doing it kind of right. We got a lot of stuff happening off in the summer and jumping off in the fall. Let's go over to these questions real quick, and then I'm done so the sisters get up. So I was wondering, I said, cool, about when did we start really becoming conscious? So I went through and I started adding in a lot of information. So I got stuff in here like the Great Migration, the birth of the new black media, the New York revolts, because you had 2 of those. A lot of people didn't know that a lot of the slavery started up north. A lot of people don't really not, because think about it. Even with the Harriet Tubman story, what was she? Anybody know? She was in Maryland. That's the East Coast, am I right? A lot of people don't know that a lot of our history takes place up north, and a lot of us was transplanted from up north down south. That's why it's kind of hard for us to find the records of who we are and where we are. So we got all this stuff here, Harper's Ferry, we got the birth of jazz, we got all that. And the sister's going to go a little bit more into that with what they're about to present. So now let's go back up here. And I'm done. So with this piece that I got, the year around which we had the most activity with 19.6 right here would be, here's the year of the Great Awakening, 1913 to 1933, which just happened to fall on the summer. What's some of the stuff that happened during there?
Tell us, Brother Hobson.
I'm about to find out. Let's find out. During the Great Depression. It wasn't a depression for us because we already been. We was already right, exactly.
What year are you talking about?
1913 through 1933.
Okay.
Great Migration.
Great Migration. This is when it started waking. Now, I just want to be clear. We had shown shots of consciousness and of waking up all the way from the beginning. Now, there's some periods where there's absolutely no action. That might be on our fact because we don't have all the data. But for those years, 1913 through 1933, we got, it's a summer. Now, it falls in what I would call a super fall. So it was an 80-year period that was the fall. Now, to know what we are in a great winter right now. Believe it or not. But anyway, 1913 to 1933, we got the birth of the UNIA.
Yep, 1919.
We got the Tulsa race riots, Rosewood, Elaine massacre, Great Migration began about 1916, Harlem Renaissance. We got the birth of the NOI. We got the birth of Martin Luther King. We got the Civil Rights Movement. No, Civil Rights Movement was later. We got the birth of Malcolm X. Some other stuff popping up. A lot of the scholars that a lot of us talk about was born during that period.
That's right.
So there was a whole lot of action here. Now, let's see. Hold on.
Morning, Jane, West Coast.
Huh? All right. So the next popular one was 1808 through 1828, and we got 1955 through 1975, which is a winner inside of a great winner. But anyway, I won't go into that. We could talk about this a little bit later. But any questions before I get up?
We can go backwards from 1913 to 33 and then 1808 to 18.
Right, 1808. The reason I went back was because 1913 to 1933 was, in a sense, the period of the most action. But when we really started showing a lot of awakening was that period 1808 to 1828. See, I ain't even got Mark Delaney on this, because what I did was I took all these events and I put them on a form so that it would be able to put it into these pictures for me, right? So now, 1808 through 1828, it was a spring. Now, this is what's good about that. That was during an 80-year super summer. It was spring. It was the 10th generation. We got German Coast Rebellion. We got the Ponty Conspiracy. We got George Boxley Rebellion. We got Denmark Vesey. We got a lot of stuff happening. Harriet Tubman was born during that time. Frederick Douglass was born during that time. W.E.B. Du Bois was born during that time. So there's a lot of stuff happening for us there. But if we want to take advantage of the awakening, we got to plug back. I believe we got to plug back into the cycles like our ancestors did. Right now, in 2019, we are in, from 2018 to 2038, we are in the fall right now. So we need to be stacking up thoughts, ideas for our future generations and stuff like that. And we are at the end of what would be considered a great winter. This is why it don't seem like we might be making as much progress, because the 80 years is dominated by the concept of winter, but we are in the fall of that right now. So from 39 to 2059, if we survive, because by 2053 they say our wealth will be at zero. We don't get it together. But you know, the cycles are here, so I got it mapped out. So I hope that's
put your blues up and other things.
We straight?
Yeah, we got questions, but remember we have.
All right, do it later. All right, so I'm gonna put it. You ready?
So are we using yours or what? Okay, is there sound? Is this sound on here?
It's. I don't know. Nobody has hands.
Best way to find out.
You ready? It'll come up there if it does.
It went to the playlist. My fault.
While you running a video?
I need the audio for the sound, but if not, I'll use this. I thought you said the speakers. Okay, so
It ain't got no sound.
no sound. Okay, I'll just use this up here.
What? Use what?
What? Who's computer?
You can still show the picture. Here.
Okay, bring
Whose
it.
computer is this?
I don't know.
Whose computer is this?
Yeah, I'm gonna hook it up to this.
He can hook it through the little piece he got there. All right, we just went through the reawakening from the point of view of what we're supposed to be looking at everything is the celestial bodies which we started with, which was our cosmology and how things are done. what we have to take a look at and doing after this section is when we talk about the future and what is at home. So far, I think that things have been going well. I've been setting up the a food group for that. When I get back to the other part there, I will be able to do that. The technical pieces we're going through right now, we hadn't had a chance to put that, work through that, so we're trying to work through that now. So far, the whole thing is about, the key is about family. The universe is a family. And what we were talking about is how do we operate as a family. And doing that reawakening, everything we're saying, that not only was it a family, it was a bunch of families coming together and acting as one unit. And that's where we, I think, from what I understand, from what Mama Rhoda has talked about, what Green's talked about, what everybody has talked about, Brother Kwame, is that we have to understand that we do act as a family. We got to recognize that. Because we're so busy recognizing the other things that we do. And it's good for us to take a look at how we operate as a family. Brother Hatem tied right into what Brother Kwame was talking about. As the Ma'afa comes in, I want y'all to notice that it never stops. But in our culture, from where I understand it, somebody told me a lifeline, if I understand it, whenever we have one side, we also have to understand the other side is there. For instance, if I say Ma'at, we automatically have to think of who? That's her counterpart. So if you know Tony, who would you think of? There you go. Olumala? Yeah. So we have to move like that. We have to be blessed like that. Sisters, that is totally beautiful. Would you want me to put the light on, or you want to keep it like this? Oh, wait.
No, that's Fela.
Y'all can play some drum with that if y'all would like. Y'all can drum with it.
Oh, thank you. We didn't know that. What happened to my drum?
Fela do 30-minute songs, y'all.
Hotep, everybody. Okay, so Jill and I was given the assignment of our presentation representing movement and what that looks like.
The African Center movement.
And what that looks like. So I'm not real good with public speaking, but I'm gonna try to do the best I can do.
This is family speaking.
Right.
This is family speaking.
That's fine.
And that's why we're gonna do it together.
Absolutely.
We want to do an interactive like presentation. We want to engage everyone in with us. So.
In this, because this is the wrap up, right? This
Yeah,
is the reflection.
following your presentation is the future. Because right now, this is the movement, and then the next one is the future. So, right, thank you.
So for us, when we thought about the movement, we thought about Sankofa. Okay? Everybody say Sankofa.
Sankofa.
Get a drum. Let's get the drums.
Sankofa.
Slow it down a little bit. All right. Sankofa.
Sankofa.
Sankofa. Sankofa. Sankofa. Sankofa.
Sankofa.
Sankofa. course, that beautiful image, right? Because nothing but divinity can give you an image that allows you to turn yourself 365 degrees around, right? To get a reflection of what, family? Well, the past. Right, the past. That beautiful bird in reflection and reminding us again of looking 365 degrees back to, you know, everything that we've been talking about in this conversation today, right? Right? But then that's only part of the story. What's the rest of the definition of Sankofa? What do you do with that?
Go back and finish.
All right, go back.
But then there's more to the story.
Gotta bring it forward to you.
Yeah.
Past informs the present for the future.
So y'all see why? Sankofa.
Sankofa.
Sankofa. Sankofa. Sankofa. Right. And we want to carry that in our hearts as we go forward into not only the rest of this conversation, but in throughout this season. That is an activity that we have to be a part of as a family. And it is a beautiful activity. It's a collective activity. It's an activity that drives the movement.
Okay, so with that being said,
Go ahead.
we have, in reference to Sankofa, we're looking back and moving forward. You know, we put together a collage of an example of Sankofa from our ancestors to our elders to ourselves and to the Watotos. And this is the photo that you can actually take it, you can frame it, you can have it as a piece of artwork, you can use it, you know, to reference. But sometimes I think when we are practicing or speaking of Sankofa and we look back, we don't include some of the people within our own community. When we look at the present, we don't include some of the people within our own community. So I had put a call out for people to send me pictures, and Rhoda, I think you're the only one that sent me a picture on Facebook about putting this collage together. You see the picture? You sent me that on my face. So, you know,
Oh, yeah, there's a little.
and so, you know, it just reflects upon the past and how we're moving forward and passing it on to our young ones, and they're going to be the next to rise for the future coming.
Okay, so we would just kind of want to talk a little bit maybe about some of the contributions that we want to remember. And I think going into this, Elder Tony has spoke about it as well, but just we want to hear some personal reflections of what you all are going to bring forward as well, given the different stages that we've talked about and all the different lessons that we are in the reawakening of. I don't know if that aligns. Hatim, what season are we in now?
Right now we in winter.
That's what I thought you said. So that's an interesting parallel. How do you do reawakening in winter?
Easy.
So talk about what's easy about that, Elder Tony.
As things slow down, one of the way we've been looking at. You remember in the Black Panther movie when they talked about the brothers that was in the mountains.
Thank you.
Okay, there was snow and all of that.
Windfall.
Yeah, but you never got that opinion because it's how you react to that slowing down. That slowing down to that winter thing is to calm you down and rest so you can gather your energy, because the summer and spring, they take more energy out of you. So that's the way I perceive the winter. Well, this white is like winter to me. It slows me down. I'm taking a look at things. I'm plotting and preparing for the the summer activities, especially in the summer when the heat and the molecules are moving faster. So I look at the winter like as a plotting time, as that kind of time.
Also, the winter time, even though a lot of people think that the winter is, it's a bad time for human beings, but if you look at it in terms of the earth, The earth is being replenished because all that snow is water.
Right.
And the earth
It goes right to it.
soaks all that up. And that's what prepares us for the spring and so.
And allows us to have
Right.
the type of harvest in the soil prepared in such a way with the right, what it needs.
And
in
the
order
funny
to
thing is that that parallels with when the floods were coming in Egypt.
Right.
Same acting the same way. Same
So
result.
the African-centered movement, what we have learned, is not only happens in human form, but it's in nature as well. And how the better we understand that, and the better we know that, the better we understand the movement. The movement is massive, is one of the other themes that we got out of this. Think about all the different ways. Kwame started to touch it again as he talked about his period. Think about all the different ways in which we express the African-centered movement, right?
Different ways it manifests itself.
Right.
Can anybody think of some of the ways
What are some of
that
the
you
ways?
see movement or African-centered movement around us? One I'll say is in health and wellness. I see a big piece of the movement still going, was ongoing and still going today. As you had mentioned about the hidden in plain sight. Sometimes we don't recognize that is part of the movement. Is so we have people like Sister Roni and people like Malik that's in our own community that are promoting and doing those showing that type of African-centered movement. Does anybody think of any other ways you see it in our community?
And you can use our poster. There's some folks on here or collage. Let's talk about Mama Rhoda, whose picture's all beautiful on the collage. Y'all see Mama Rhoda's beautiful picture on the collage? She's fine. Mama Rhoda maintains the movement because one of the things we talk about too, she makes sure she always fly, right? She is always in garb that's representative of greatness and of beauty, and reminds us as sisters of beauty and how to be beautiful as a Black or African woman. So we talk about fashion, right? Each and every one of us in here is maintaining the movement. The fashion of Mama Rhoda does that too. She's cute all the time. But she got on some jewelry I wore for sure. Always, as a sister, right?
Right, but that's right.
That's right. And that's a way of one of the areas in which we have always maintained the movement, right? Is through fashion and through beauty.
And I would call out the names of the likes of a Carter G. Woodson or a who's the brother who designed Washington D.C.
Benjamin
Banneker and
Ashe.
sister from Hidden Colors. And so no matter what season we might find ourselves in a small sense, not I don't want to confuse things, so let me not use the word season because I think Hatem has set forth something that we really need to dig into, so I'm not going to confuse that word. No matter what circumstances we find ourselves in, we're thriving.
That is so parallel to what Naveed and I talked about when we met. One of the things we talked about as far as the movement, because we thought about all the different periods, and through all the different periods, no matter, we had called it our condition, right? We've been in so many different conditions, no matter what our existence on the planet, but no matter what, we're still thriving. I don't care what the Ma'afa brought us and the periods thus after, and the seasons. I do appreciate the concept of the seasons, as we've read 2,000 seasons, and we understand our process here is to go through seasons. And the better we understand that, the better we will be in our thriving, in our reawakening. And we will not let the seasons take us out, right?
Right.
Because we know we're a community family, and then we have nuclear families within that. And so we're a part of the movement family, right, family?
Right.
We are a part of the national or international movement.
Thank you.
African-centered, Pan-African-centered movement. I say we are our own little, our own little situation for sure, but we are a part of the great, and so the movement is massive. Ashe? Come on, Ellen.
One of the things I want to say, and I was over earlier whispering something to Lumala, because I go from here to the south a lot, I go out west, I am seeing what we're doing in this room all over this country.
Right.
In
Yeah.
small places. Nobody would think in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. There is small rooms, the movement is occurring, the
Right.
awakening is there.
Yeah.
There are pockets of people everywhere we go. You just have to just kind of reach out a little bit and you find people doing what we are trying and what we are doing everywhere. It was so interesting, something that Hatim had talked about with seasoning. Lumala and Alma and I had just heard the same thing in Chicago.
Sure did.
And how they were doing things and how they chased things.
Right.
It's just like it's everywhere. That
Right.
movement is there.
Right.
You guys are right on point.
Well, here's what else that lets us know we on point. When we met, we also talked about how it is necessary, right? Saying COPA is necessary because it's necessary to always do. I'm gonna see if I can do this without our notes. It's necessary to always do the teaching and to always make sure the information, that's considered information, knowledge, spirituality, all the practice of culture that was maintained is always communicated so the African-centered knowledge can be maintained. Because we say in the movement in the 21st century, African-centered movement is oftentimes, what's this? Hidden in plain sight.
Hidden in plain sight.
But you gotta know to be able to see and decode. And continue the movement and to give it to them because it's going to even look different for them. So it even looks different now than it did for y'all.
Right, and it looks different. You know, it may not be what you were used to seeing, but it is there and it looks different in 2019.
Are we saying the essence is the same? but
Absolutely.
the form
Absolutely.
That's right, Kwame. And even with the government is another place where we have seen movement. Where as far as looking back and moving forward with the ADOS movement, that is really, in my opinion, taking an effect in a lot of people who may not have been listening or on board. There was a group of people that weren't on board, but now the movement is growing, which is ADOS stands for American Descendants of Slaves. So within slavery. Okay, American Descendants of Slavery. And, and what they have a list of things that they're asking for, demanding for as people of ADOS. So.
And the food that is associated with the period that you're talking about, the color is
It's green. We're I want to do that as well, but I had one more thing as far because I wanted to make sure we did some credit of sharing who's on here, so that Kwame can as well be a part of the activity. So real quick, y'all got it.
Yeah.
Top row.
Thank you.
We got Marcus for sure, right? Brother Marcus. Who else is next to Brother Marcus?
There you go. I ain't thinking about no snow.
Okay, there we go. Next to Delaney, one of my faves. Come on now.
John Henry Clark.
John Henry. Yes, Brother Malcolm, and who else?
Amos Wilson.
Amos Wilson.
We got Amos up in the corner, and y'all can come on down around here. Any of those four brothers over here.
Well, you see,
That's
That's Kwame Torrey.
where?
Kwame.
A young picture of
Who's the one over here?
yeah.
That's Kwame Torrey. Yeah.
No.
In the
In the upper right corner.
behind next to Malcolm.
Next to Umar
down
Johnson.
from Malcolm.
Down from
To the
Malcolm.
left of Malcolm. Or
And
your
on the other
right.
side of Malcolm
Sophie
Your
Thorne
right
go
down
against.
from Malcolm.
No, the one in the corner. The right corner.
Oh, the right corner. That's
Yeah. Who is that?
that's Jawanta Kunjufu, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that is.
That's the most known.
Queen Mother Moore.
Where?
Right here.
They don't move. They don't move.
Right
They
above
moving
Elder Tony.
Okay.
They don't
And
move.
then Dr. Kelsey. Ooh, Nomo. Yes.
Wow.
Who's next to Nomo, sis?
I look like Alice Walker.
No, that is
Shika?
Asada Shakur.
That's good right over top of Elder Alona and Elder Phyllis. Whoop, whoop. Yes. Elder Tony, Mama Rhoda. Who is this right here next to you?
That's Kwame.
Oh, that's Kwame. Hey, in the house.
That's Kwame back in the day.
I was trying to, cause I put the thing out for pictures, and by the way, I'm gonna have to, I tagged you on Facebook. You must have missed it.
No, I didn't. I sent it to you, but
Did
you
you?
just did not get it. It was me at the store. He said, send me what you do, and I sent it, but
I'm
maybe
gonna
I
add
was
it
late.
to it.
Oh,
I'm
no,
gonna add it.
I might
You
have
don't
been
have
late.
to be on there.
Right, I
You don't
was
have
late.
to be on there, cause
Because
I was like,
coming back from Chicago, I was all over the place.
Okay.
I was late.
So Kwame, you next to Navita, and then there's Roni and Jerica and Yende and Devin and Tim, and I don't know who that chick is. And Taiwan, and then
Tykees.
Tykees. Is that Jerica's baby?
That's my grandson.
Oh, that's your grand. Ooh, he looks like but he does look like okay. Oh, where's nephew? Then there is
Please.
in the house. Oh, and the girls. Our pretty girls. Okay, now Shemaya, you don't want to say Shemaya and her grandson don't look. That's who I got confused with.
Who is this right here?
Where?
One next.
Oh, Taiwan.
Oh, Taiwan.
Back in the day.
Who is that beside the son of
He's
Shakur?
African son.
No more.
He's over there.
No.
That's the only picture I can find. That's the only I was throwing it together quick. It was a task to put all those pictures together.
Okay, I ain't gonna let y'all go out without
You like it?
This is really good.
Yes.
I ain't gonna let y'all go out without y'all see who's in the bottom corner there, right there.
Bottom corner.
The bottom right.
The bottom.
Bottom right.
I mean, left.
Well, let
Okay, I'm
Security,
sorry.
your children,
Right here.
your
Thank you.
babies.
As long as y'all say so.
All three of your children. That's your two sons that are.
Yeah.
All right, long as
That's all the
we
children.
good. We
That's
good
it.
now.
All three of them.
Who's the little boy next to him?
Finish.
That's the youngest grandson.
Right here. Long as y'all
That's
bottom left. Okay.
Yeah.
No, it's my right. This is staying my right with them. Depending on which way you turn the picture, they over here up underneath.
Right.
You.
Until that's you. That's you.
Yeah, that's the one that Navita Photoshop and used. That's messed up. I got you on my next presentation.
Good job, sis. Good job, Navita.
Oh, really?
Good job, Navita.
So again, we are the movement. That's why we have this week to remind us that we are the movement. Our children, we could have this could be so big. We got babies and grandbabies all around this room that we love. In fact, Rhoda had mine last night. I got hers right now. The best Ayende's not here. He got the kids. He should have brought them because they couldn't play with their cousins, who they don't get to see that much because it's family.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so we have to remember that in all that we do and all that we've done today and all that we will continue to do moving forward. Then we are the movement so that the movement can be maintained. So that nature can be maintained and the work that we can be maintained and we're responsible for on our during our season. I was gonna say during our shift, y'all know whatever is maintained. So our color was green and we had a lot of ideas, sis. Like what were some of the stuff
We
you
had
said?
like limes and we had
Avocados,
yeah, avocados, the leafy greens.
So there are a lot
But
of
all of that's good because
right.
you're talking about healthy green fruit.
Right, and so we ended up with some broccoli. But what is the theme in all the green stuff?
Life.
Life. Not only life, it's roughage. As well, right?
Bring out.
Keep
Yes,
it right.
it is.
Real talk.
That's the
And
movement. Right.
the movement not only is life, it's sometimes rough. Keep you moving on the movement. Bring it to short. Keep you moving on the movement. Moving on. Okay.
Set the track move.
Keep it moving.
Keep moving. Of the movement is in the arts.
Right.
And
Oh,
especially with, you know, like we started out with Fela Kuti, and we're going to bring it in
Oh,
to
yeah.
2019
Come on with
Okay, can you hit the light so people can see?
Here we
Okay,
go.
come on, guys, come on. Move for the movement.
Okay.
Move for the movement. Keep it moving for the movement. Move for the movement. Move for the
This your brother Sarah said hey, all yourself with knowledge. Bang on that wicked ass beat daily. Liberation through African education. Step up, black people. I love you.
That's right.
Oh, you punked out. I thought you was going, no.
No, we had a kid.
Oh, my God.
Right.
Yep.
For information purposes. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, they left a lot out.
So, right now we're
Appropriate. Topic.
okay. Well, ladies, thank you.
Yeah, that was
Okay.
great, ladies.
Can we-
Thanks.
The continuation and the wrap up here is for all of us to be involved. The question on the floor with all of us that are here is, what is the future of the Afrocentric movement? Is there such thing as an Afrocentric movement? And what is the future and what is our responsibility? And that particular area is looked upon as the future, meaning our children, which is represented by Kwanzaa, because remember, we're supposed to bring some of this information that we learned, especially Brother Hatem and all of us here, the things that we learned about today, about the
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. Get down there, child.
She had a little, that's what family does.
That's what we do. That's what
I got your back, baby.
Thank
Yeah,
you so much.
I appreciate it.
Okay, so we can see everybody. The future is represented in terms of the food is orange and gold, honey, all of those things.
Orange is Kwame Day.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Orange is Kwame Day.
All right.
And Alma Day.
Oh.
It's Day today, okay?
What were they playing?
No. I was trying to cut it off. It's coming up now.
As you see, our present, past, and future is basically on knowledge and things of that nature. And one of the things that we took a look at here was being prepared. And this is the representation that we had with the reawakening of the African mind and the future of the African mindset. So we want to take a look at the principles that started in the beginning with the African cosmology and spirituality and then the family are now being represented. One representation is the principles, which the Muchuma Saba, the candles, represent. The principles. The pieces that are missing are the Kanara, which represent the people, the male and female energy, and the mat would represent the land of Africa. But the principles are what the candles stand for. Umoja, Kuji, Chagalia, Nia, Kuumba, going through them all. Didn't go through them all. But it's the principles. And the principles is what we want to bring forward. Tim and the brothers have also put us into, if I say Umoja, what day is that?
Like if
That's
I said,
Umoja Day. But we know it's the start of the week. And Imani would be the 7th day. So they've put us into that, and the sisters have just brought us into looking at our family. So when we say, if it's okay with you ladies, when I say Umoja from now on, I'm going to see this poster, but not only this one, but it expanded. I have to see our family. So the question is, the Afrocentric movement, is it moving on? And if it's moving on, who's supposed to take care of it? Are we supposed to take care of it?
Yes, as a collective.
Okay, so let's,
All take care
well,
of it.
we're gonna begin to wind down now because the children, and that piece that y'all put together, in my opinion, this was, the foundation here was the children. At least this is the way I looked at it. Normally on the foundation, we have the elders down there or something like that. No, they had the elders at the top, and they had the children as being the foundation, holding everything else up. At least that's the way I looked at it. So that's also represented in Kwanzaa when we talk about when we're doing this and the corn that we have there, what does that represent? And not just that one piece of corn, but look at all the children that are in one piece of corn. Each of these little kernels, you know. So all of y'all today, thank y'all very much. But let's ask, is there a future for African-centered consciousness? Because I'm going to tell y'all going to run into some of our folks. This is one of the other fruits that I'm telling you, with the fruits and stuff. This is one of the symbols of an African-centered movement. And this is it that way. If y'all read this here, this is one of the naysayers of the African-centered movement. So we have to do what Mama Lona, what was that they say? Let it go. When you hear the naysayers saying, or they come up to you saying, well, hey, I know who your three stooges are. What does that thing say? It says the Afrocentrism is like what? Therapeutic mythology, a way of promoting the self-esteem of African Americans by creating a past that never happened. Let it go.
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 When somebody confronts you or us with this crazy, whatever they confront you with, let it go. If you spend time with it, you're giving it life. That's one of the things about the winter, summer, spring, and fall. In the summer, when you spend time with stuff and water it and do all that, you're giving it life. You're bringing it forth. Same thing in winter. So if we spend time with somebody denying who our children are, then we're giving them life. And they'll be killing the corn. So I just ask y'all, is there a future from the Afrocentric movement in Columbus, Ohio? And if so, is there a future of the Afrocentric movement internationally?
Yes. Yes.
And I thought the sister said that, and some of the brothers said, are we international beings?
Yes.
So when you talk to me, are you talking to somebody on the continent?
Yes.
And
Go ahead.
well, no, we're talking to a whole lot of people, just not people on the continent.
Okay, in the diaspora.
Yeah.
Okay, diaspora.
What is our image of who we are? That's why this picture is real important, because it gives us a visual image. And the written image that you presented, we formed a visual image. So our visual image of who we are is really important. And I think that our mental image of who we are is more important than that. Because if we don't know, if we can't visualize who we are mentally and who we are as one, and notice that also on the, I don't want to call this a poster, what do we want to call this to make it an artifact and make it sacred?
Our people.
Okay.
I like it. Our people.
Simple. What are you,
Our family.
what are you referring
I'm
to?
holding the collage that they handed out.
Our family.
You can bring it closer to him, but he ain't gonna see it.
That's why I touched it on the hand with it. Smart ass.
You got jokes today, brother. You got real jokes.
Hello?
Amen.
Brother Kwame is.
Mommy, get in.
It's our day. Come on, go ahead.
I didn't bring it closer to you, man. All right.
It's similar to a macaca.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Okay. McKinky is the mat, the foundation. Yeah, and the foundation. All right. Okay.
And you're talking about somebody that can't see.
There you
All
go.
right now,
You know
I
how to
got to
identify.
sing that.
But see what I did.
Felt it.
What I
Right.
did was
You're right.
I touched it to his
felt it.
hand to let him know we was talking about,
Right.
and then
felt
the
it.
sister said the collage that they handed out. So we all are good here. Except we're gonna put you in the timeout. Now notice what we're doing. We're joking about something that only family members can
That's
do.
We joke about right.
Somebody else come in here and try that, we would be on them like, whoa.
White on rice.
No, we're not white on rice.
I mean, black on rice. Let me rephrase that. Black on rice. How about that?
There you go.
Mama Lona, can we begin? So next, in 2 weeks, we'll be having the Grand Caramel. These tables will be forming one giant dining room table, and we'll have the foods that'll be served from the other side. Hopefully, we'll get some feedback from y'all about the presentations that everybody gave there. If we don't have a photo of this table, one should be taken because I think this is really really good. We'll wrap it up now. I'd really like to thank Mama Rhoda again for the second time. What we're going to do during a Kwanzaa on the PER ANKH for next month, we're going to listen to her about the piece that she was doing for the divine conversation in the family, because this is about family. We have, the way I understand this, we have a lot of families coming together making the village. And that's the way I understand it. And so some others of y'all understand this as one big family. But I can look at it that way too. But I see my family coming to the center, joining one family. But we have to have a ritual that when we come together, that we know we on lockdown. We know that when we do this ritual, whatever we say or whatever we do, that we're now in the village president and our village leaders, Mama Lona and what's the other guy's name? PER ANKH. Okay.
That was okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
children,
Get
the
You go to
children,
time out after me.
Okay.
the children,
You're not saying it.
the children are passing around for our offering.
Oh,
We
wait a
use
minute.
that
We
to
know that.
economically build. I will briefly go over the announcements. Next PER ANKH is December the 8th. January the 12th will be the PER ANKH after that. We have Divine Conversation and the Emoja Care Move on the 24th of this month here. Elatonia's talked about that's when we will
Yes,
eat
okay.
and have family conversation.
And Mama, what's her name?
Rhoda,
No, Mama,
Phyllis.
Phyllis, the food.
Yeah.
Food.
Let Elder Phyllis know what you want to bring.
So we don't
I'll
have
give-
everybody bringing rice, you know.
Right.
White rice.
We have our ASCAT study group, and thank you, Mama, for coming from our study group, our Sapphire year.
Well, thank you.
Yes,
Yeah,
we're
thank
really
you
glad. Very good. And
She can count that. She can count that.
they can do it together and include 50 because I'll put mine, whatever. Okay. And here we have the beginning study group here on Friday nights as well. Madhu Nature Study is going on online. The G&J Mall is the last Saturday of the month at Millennium School.
We might change that though. I'll send word out because people gonna be wanting those greens. So we gotta sit down and we gotta talk about whether we're gonna change it or not.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
I know you are now.
Okay.
I'm sorry,
On December the 14th, we have the HBCU talk at the Millennium School from 11 to 2. That should be really good. Bring our children just to hear about HBCUs. HBCUs put out the majority of the African college-trained people in this country.
Right.
Doctors, black doctors, and are graduated from
HBCUs, yes. They have an important place in our community. Citywide Kwanzaa, I know Jill will talk about that more, starting on the 26th at the King Arts Complex. And Kwanzaa story time on the 28th at the main library. Ella Olumla, you want to do this?
I'm here to ask you, because I was asked by a committee of ASCAT, if we talked about, that was for 2020 or 2021, asking him, can we
Oh,
can we
no,
hold,
2020.
2020,
yeah.
The ASCAT Midwest region at the Millennium School. You don't have to talk, you don't have to
Yeah,
answer
that's
now.
good.
That's
When?
so wow.
But that's, you know, they're trying, you're just one of the people who I'm supposed to ask, but they may have it at Kent.
Yeah, they're also
Kent
looking
State
at Kent.
also.
They're looking at Kent as well, and but they're Kent and Columbus. If
Yeah, for 2000.
the thing about that makes
That'll be
Columbus
November.
right, November, the first weekend in November. The thing that makes Columbus nice is that you have active people that live in Columbus.
Right.
That's the biggest thing about
Where's Kent State at?
Kent State is in Kent, Ohio.
Yeah, about 25 miles outside of Cleveland.
Yeah.
Oh,
About
yeah.
Yeah.
5 miles from Akron.
Yeah. So, yeah, you're right.
But well, you know, that was okay, because he said, yeah, we could do that.
Okay.
So, but, you know, we'll just get back with them.
Yeah, we need to give
That's
you-
one of them, but we also giving Kent State the opportunity, because Larry Crow
Yes.
is still working with Kent State.
Yeah.
You know, and we say that if Kent State can't be the part, then we'll kind of like represent that.
Yeah, it's the first. It's always the first weekend in November, and it's that starting about 5 o'clock on that Friday, all day Saturday, and up until noon on that Sunday. Any other announcements? Do you want to talk a little bit more about Kwanzaa, or you want to
So
do about the
I
cards?
do want to kind of qualify, because you had talked about Emily's HBCU and then you went in Kwanzaa. My hands went up, but my hands were really up about HBCUs. Y'all know, I don't know if everyone knows, I absolutely love HBCUs since I have had the experience with Jabari in attending an HBCU. So I can't do enough shout outs. If y'all have young people that have not graduated from high school yet, which means they have the opportunity to maybe attend a HBCU in the future, please continue to talk about HBCUs to them. More than predominantly white colleges, I would say, but you know, do what you want. But at least have a combined conversation and allow them the opportunity to choose. So that's that on HBCUs. So Kwanzaa, we have communication materials. I didn't know if you wanted to go. Next door, so we have 2,500 hot cards and 100 posters. So
Left.
now to start, like go, like us. So we're starting. Did anyone see the electronic communications that started to go out this past week? So I sent some out. If you're saying no, I'll make sure that hopefully that you do see it. The preferred communication to use, there is like a flyer that is just a standalone that has the information, but the one that has the flyer and the link is preferred because it takes you straight to the website. So that when it takes you to the website, you have access to everything. Of course, that would be vendor registration is on and popping. We actually have a few, so like if you want to be toward the front, hurry up, get your money in, because it is the layout of tables are based on sign up. So first come, first take. Right,
Is it gonna
table
still be in the middle? Or is it gonna-
Yep, just still keep it in the middle. We need a space so bad, but that's a whole nother conversation because we love the King Arts Complex, and you know, for a lot of reasons, the opportunity, we think it's family, the larger sense, whatever. We just think it's too many people to have the vendors and the people all wrapped up in the same place at the same time. So we need to, and we're paying for that, you know, we're paying for that space too, so I'm gonna go ahead and use everything I'm paying for.
Absolutely.
So, we're gonna wrap it around there. This year we are though, we're trying to always improve the rooms that are the dance studios on the other side of the bathroom. Is we're gonna have Kwanzaa for children or Kwanzaa for Watoto. So we're hopefully meeting a need where people have said, hey, I got young people and they don't want to sit and just listen to all this. We need a place for them. And then we can focus on the children and focus on the children learning more about Kwanzaa. So we're having that room manned each night, and that won't cause families to come around the corner. So we're kind of trying to think cooperatively there. So there are posters. As we think about taking them, you kind of want to make sure that, I guess because I'm budget conscious too, we're not wasteful, but we are conscious of taking them and intentionally thinking about places where we want to put them. We want to spread the word. Are any of you all on the north side? Any of y'all live north? So I attempted to carry the north side. Where else? East side is a plethora of us.
West.
Who's west? Anybody go west side? Right, sis?
No.
Does anybody go out west? I understand why we don't. I understand why the answer is no to all of the above. So we still got some folks, we got brothers and sisters out west, so we got to figure out.
But see, you might talk to Mama Aziza and Elder Tony, because she does Zumba and stuff over on the hilltop.
Okay, there we go. So that's that. And then, where I leave out? North, south? South side? South side? Okay, they go to Mary Franklin too. Well, Elder Tony, they go to Mary Franklin too, so.
Oh, yeah.
And there's that new restaurant where I put things in, and that new, you know, the one we talked about.
Yeah, way down yonder.
Way down yonder. We need to put some stuff in way down yonder.
Oh, that's killing the game with that. Oh, my God.
That's my kid is
Killing
And he has,
For Lonnie, he has.
Mudcloth, kids of mudcloth.
so take your, get the information and please work to pass it out. Also, the last thing, we are really, as you're passing out the cards, of course, vendors, but we're always wanting to make sure we're practicing the principles. 365, a part of that is Buy in Black. Illumina is always an example to us of how we need to support, well, all of us that have businesses. You know, support each other, and we want to do that for the larger community. So when you get the cards, if you know someone who's a business owner, or you support a business, we talk about this every year, make sure you give it to them so they have an opportunity to let more folks support them, but as well as be a part of the directory. So, yeah, hands over here from the.
I'm reaching out to the Black Student Union
Sweet.
at Ohio State, Ohio Dominican, and Calvin University. So I'll bring some flyers, not those cards, to those three universities. And I'm also trying to reach out to Franklin University. Have not applied to them yet. But I'm moving in
I like that part of the movement. We need that, and we talk every year that the movement is always nation builder. Thank you. Because we know the movement is nation builder, elder heavy, and we need that part of the movement. That movement to be strengthened. I'm sorry, Elder. Did you have one more thing?
You want to say something?
I just wanted to let everybody know that doesn't know, Alma's Corner will be up and running on Black Friday. The reason why I chose Black Friday and everything that they did today, you know, we need to shop black. Happy y'all here have yet to come into our store. So I'm just saying, please support us because I'm talking about you over there. But what I'm saying is black businesses, we need to be supported because we won't survive. We don't want to be the past. We want to be their future. You understand?
Well, let me add to that.
Thank you.
At the end of the year, the White Book will be moving off of Mount Vernon Avenue. We'll let you guys know at a later date when that movement will take place at. Okay.
Thank you for the hands up.
Okay.
Right, I don't want you going over there knocking on the door. You don't see me up in there.
Okay. We collected, the girls collected, the little ladies
She
collected.
added it up too.
Huh? Yes,
You ain't
they were
supposed to tell
good.
her. I let her do that because Mulan said, when you know better, you do better. So I had to be the teacher. And I told her how to add the cents and put the decimal there. And then I allow her to, if she had to count her finger, that's okay too, because sometimes I do too. So she came up with it. And again, this is what you guys were talking about. It's their future.
Right.
Very
It's
good.
their future. It's their future.
They collected $88. Oh,
You're welcome.
$88.85.
That's 3 eggs.
So what's that represent?
Don't see back there. Over there with my computer.
Right now.
Okay.
There you go. That's what I was thinking.
The announcement.
That's right.
We're gonna stand and do the pledge Shema, Elder Tony. Are we just gonna end with the pledge Shema, or are we gonna do the circle?
Let's do the
I'm going to do the circle.
yeah. So what does the family say?
Yeah, what do you want? You got pledge?
Do the circle.
Do the circle.
Do the
Okay.
circle.
Do the pledge Shema. Let's do the pledge Shema, and then we'll do the alumni. Would you, while I get that together, would you lead us in the pledge Shema, or Elder Darrell, one of you? There, you got it. You know, you have to find it. Let me do that. Okay. If we stand and turn and face the east.
Yeah, there we go. Please give it right if you don't mind.
Everyone please stand. God is great.
God is great.
His value is lasting.
His value is lasting.
It has remained unchanged and unequal
It has remained unchanged and unequal
since the time of its creator.
since the time of its creator.
It is a plain path,
It is a plain path,
even for the ignorant.
even for the ignorant.
Those who violate its laws
Those who violate its laws
are punished.
are punished.
God urges moral excellence,
My honor is moral excellence,
and all one does.
and all one does.
So no fault can be found
So no fault can be found
in your character.
in your character.
God is truth.
God is truth.
God is justice.
God is justice.
God is righteousness.
God is righteousness.
God is balance.
God is balance.
God is order.
God is order.
God is harmony.
God is harmony.
God is reciprocity.
God is reciprocity.
Do that which is right,
Do that which is right,
that you may live long on earth.
that you may live long on earth.
Think my eye.
Think my eye.
Speak my eye.
Speak my eye.
Do my eye.
Do my eye.
In secular and sacred situations,
In secular and sacred situations,
I will ensure
I will assure
a mutually beneficial community
a mutually beneficial community.
and everlasting life. Shemotep.
Shemotep.
So if we can form a circle.
Circle. Just break. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. With the harmony, let our rejoicing rise high as the listening sky. Let us become love and glory.
hidden is the source of all power, all health, and all life. The end is as it was in the beginning. We're now going to have some food on the other side.
You go.